Hello and welcome to this episode of Conversations with Unstoppable Jenny. If this is the first time you're coming across an episode of Conversations is basically me, myself, and sometimes an extra passenger having conversations in the car about everything and anything.
No fuss, no gimmicks, just candid conversations about life, love, and other mysteries.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Conversations with Unstoppable Jenny. If this is the first time you're coming across an episode of Conversations is basically me, myself, and sometimes an extra passenger having conversations in the car about everything and anything. Today on this episode of Conversations, we're going to discuss parenting. Okay? Parenting is so vast and so varied that I am singularly of the opinion that there is no one size fits all for parenting. For instance, a parent has 4 children. All 4 children present differently in the things they like, in the things they do, in the way they study, in the way they assimilate. It's different. There's no one size fits all rule. So I'm a little worried when people try to push a particular methodology of oh, it must be like this, or oh, it must be like that. If you're not doing it this way, then you're getting it wrong. Personally, as an individual, I'm not a stickler for routine. Routine bores me to sleep, essentially. So I try not to be that person. I mean, everybody's life has some bit of routine here and there, but I try not to dwell too much in the ways that I can vary the things that I do, the way I train my kids, the way I teach them to pray, to read the word, to learn how to care for themselves, to do chores. In the way I raise my kids, I try to vary because I love excitement. I love to do things differently. And I think that if I'm that way, then it's possible they're that way too. And it's easier to teach them if we can be flexible with the way that we teach. And that's the thing about my issue with parenting guidelines. You're telling me that the methodology that works for A will work for B. That's not true. In the 2 kids I have, Jada and Alex, the way I teach them is so vastly different. The things that came so naturally to Jada, to studying, discipline, reading when she should, organizing her space, being a responsible sister, etc., 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 having her own fashion taste, having the things that she likes to do and the things she doesn't like to do. Quite different from me, she's so different from me in ways that amuse me, But the way she presents is totally different from the way her brother presents. Okay, he presents as a typical, in quotes, boy of his age. He loves to play games, he loves to play football, he loves to do, he loves to be everywhere. He's a bundle of energy, So when it comes to teaching him, we teach differently. But interestingly, in the middle of all his play, his seeming unruliness, he learns, and he learns really well. He learns things that amaze me. He says some things to me and I'm shocked that he knows those things. For instance, like random things, totally random things. Like, for instance, one day I was hugging him, we were hugging, and he told me, "Mommy, you know that in wildlife, this is called bonding." I'm like, "Oh, really? Tell me more." My kids love Nat Geo Wild, so, that could be one of the reasons why that is presenting itself in that way. But my point is, the same way that we are all different in the way that we have grown. I mean, I have 3 siblings myself, and we are all completely different, all of us. Like, sometimes people wonder what stock I'm so different from my siblings. I'm completely different from my siblings in the way I present, in the things I like, in my creativity, in my entire self, and I have been this way for the longest. Even when it seemed like I was a tiny little introvert, I had all the ideas running wild, the ideas that would birth to make me who I am, or to form part of who I am today. So my thing is, what are your views on parenting? Do you think that there's a one size fits all rule for parenting, or do you feel like with each child you need to find out what is peculiar to that child and find out how to raise that child according to their own peculiarities? Or are you a stickler for it goes this way, it has to be this way, you have to sit down for 7 hours to read, you have to do it this way, or you have to do it that way, or you have to do it that way? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on parenting and raising children? You know, how do you? I remember having an argument with my husband, with my spouse, one day because he was scolding our son for not knowing how to say surely. You know, surely goodness and mercy shall follow us. This was almost 2 years ago. Maybe the boy was 6 or 5. You know, and I'm telling him, no, that you don't force. That's the thing that happened to us that we don't want to happen to our kids. We want our kids to come to the saving grace and knowledge of Jesus Christ joyfully. We don't want it to be something that their parents force them to do, and then when they grow old, there's rebellion, there's, oh, I have to find myself, there's this, there's all of that. But that's my view, that's what I think. So what are your thoughts on parenting? Do you think to each his own? Do you think, oh, there are parenting guidelines that definitely need to be followed? If you're not raising your child this way, then you are not a good mom or you're not a good parent. What are your thoughts? Please let me know in the comment section below, and thank you once again for tuning in to this episode of Conversations. It's been lovely to have you, and I can't wait for the next conversation we're going to have. With love from Unstoppable Jenny.